So in this series, I'll be speaking on some ins and outs of professional life and personal growth. You know, yeah. So on this particular episode, I'll be speaking on a familiar but not so familiar topic. On the topic of compromise. Compromise. Or some people would put it middle ground. All right. So compromise, as it is not just a skill that is required in the workplace. All right. It's a necessity even for life in itself. All right. We are social beings, and that means that we relate with people. We deal with people every day, and in our dealings and our relationship with people, life will place a demand on us to make compromises at one point or the other. Especially for those that are in relationships, those that are married, compromise is something you can't do without. If you must achieve a feat, if you must achieve anything good, so to say. Alright, but there's something really daunting about compromise. Alright, so let me paint an arbitrary situation. So on the subject matter, I have a view. I have, based on my perspective, I have an opinion that is very different from your opinion. That is very opposite, let's put it that way, to your opinion, based on where I am standing in that subject matter. And you have your own opinion based on where you're standing on that matter. It does not mean I am wrong, and doesn't mean you're right. Doesn't mean I'm right, and doesn't mean you're wrong. Alright, we are just standing in different places. We are viewing the subject matter from different perspectives, basically. So if we must work together, we have to reach a compromise. And we find ourselves in situations whereby we have to work with this person that has different opinions, different views, and all of that. So the question now is, in reaching a common ground or in making a compromise, who determines where the middle ground is? Alright? Who determines or who measures where the middle ground is? Alright? In some cases, the middle ground might not actually be the middle ground. Alright? The result of the compromises we make might not necessarily be 50% me, 50% you, as it were. But for every situation, who determines where the middle ground is? This is a question that it's been bothering or hovering upon my mind for a while, and I would like us to delve into it. I would state a few points that I feel to help us demystify the topic further, while I leave us to think about means or what can work per situation. Alright. So in reaching compromise, there are competencies, let me put it that way, that I feel are required for us to address middle ground or compromise. Alright. So one is active listening. Alright. One is active listening. So if you as a party have considered compromise on the subject matter, alright, the first thing you need to do is to hear the other person's point of view. Alright, so two things that active listening does: two things that active listening does. All right, it helps you to understand the other person's perspective. Now, this is not the point where you accept the person's view. All right, it helps you to understand the other person's perspective. Now, what that does is it gives the other party a sense of ownership. Now, what I mean by a sense of ownership in this case is people love it, people like it when they are listened to. All right, people will reckon to you more when you listen to them. Let me deviate a little bit. You realize that let's take Mr. A and Mr. B for example, right? If you have Mr. A and Mr. B in your life, all right, Mr. A has the best counsel. Mr. B does not have the best counsel, but Mr. B would listen to you anytime, any day. Chances are that you would take Mr. B's counsel as against Mr. A that knows how best to give counsel, because you get the feel that Mr. B understands your point of view. All right, that is life. So back to what we are discussing. People have a feel, or people are receptive of your opinion when you listen to them. Let's put it that way. All right, people reckon with your advice, your deductions, and what have you when you listen to them. So what active listening does is you bring in that person on your side. The person owes it to you to listen to you when you speak, if you are able to listen to the other party. All right, so that's one thing active listening does. So two things that, like I said, you understand from the other person's perspective, and you buy a leverage for the other party to also listen to you. All right, so if you have actively listened, all right, you can tell, you can pick pointers from the other party's opinion or the other party's point of view. You can pick pointers that would initiate a review in your own opinion, in your own perspective. All right, you can pick pointers that would initiate a review in your own perspective. All right, and when you also speak on your own opinion, your own perspective, the other party can also pick pointers to initiate a review of their own opinion. All right, so most of the times when we struggle with compromise, it most likely means that we both are speaking and we are not listening. All right, we both are speaking and we are not listening. So like I said, middle ground a number of times might not be the middle point. All right, middle ground most times might not be the middle point. Middle ground might be sometimes more tilted towards you, and sometimes might be more tilted towards me. But how can we achieve a middle ground? When we listen to each other. All right, when we listen to each other. So we would definitely at one point, even if you are a CEO, at one point or the other, you would have to work with someone that has an alternatively opposite view from you, or opinion from you. All right, if we find ourselves in such situations, how do we address them? How do we manage such situations or such circumstances? All right, so yeah, active listening is one competency that I believe helps in reaching compromise. So another thing that I feel helps with compromise is flexibility. All right, flexibility and openness to alternative solutions. So be it in the professional setting, in the corporate world, in the world of work and all of that, or not, we have to understand that we will not always be right. All right, we will not always be right. I will not always be right. All right, there are times where I will be wrong. Yeah, there are times where I will be wrong. So if we are able to work with that understanding, I feel like we'll be more open to, or rather more receptive to people's opinion and people's beliefs, people's judgments, so to say. So it's a competence that is required both in the world of work and in dealing with people. I will sometimes be wrong. You will sometimes be wrong, and we have to admit to this fact, to this truth. All right. So, what are the enemies of compromise or enemies of common ground? One big enemy that I can think of right now is ego and pride. All right. So, we have to understand that compromise is not defeat. All right. Compromise does not make you weak. Aside, compromise does not make you the little one or the lesser one. All right. Compromise doesn't make you feeble. Let's put it that way. Compromise doesn't make you feeble. All right. So when you reach compromise with someone, doesn't mean that they are bigger than you or they know better than you or they have better than you. All right. So it's being able to let go of your ego and pride in the face of compromise is a competency on its own. All right. So at every point in time when we are in a group or in a partnership or in a team, all right, a lot of times we have to let go of ego and our pride. As a matter of fact, reaching compromise does not mean that the compromise we have reached is the best way. That's another tweak to it. Sometimes the compromise we agreed to, all right, is for seamlessness. All right, in relationships we call it for peace. All right. Sometimes when we reach a compromise, we reach compromise for seamlessness, not because it is the most effective way. Yes, you have to consider effectiveness when you are reaching a compromise. Definitely, you have to consider effectiveness, but it does not necessarily translate that the compromise we have reached is the most effective way to handling the subject matter. Oh, it is an effective way for us to work seamlessly. All right. So we'll be speaking more on other subject matters as it pertains to life and professional growth. Stay tuned and please do subscribe. Thank you.